give it a few more minutes. See, what time is it?
1:30.
1:30. We'll give it maybe 5 more minutes, you think? No? All right.
So yeah, if I could just be like him.
Yes, I'm telling you.
I knew he wants the dogs.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
You
gonna
know
tell
what?
him. No, he's actually something called an akbash.
Oh.
He came from a lab rescue. I'll show you my yellow lab though.
That I haven't heard of.
He is they're both from a lab rescue. He was supposedly a lab Great Pyrenees mix, but on more research, he's what is probably an akbash, which is a Turkish guardian dog. And there's the yellow lab.
That's what I'm talking about, right? Be that relaxed. When are we ever that relaxed, right? Look at that baby.
Hey, just taking a nap.
Mm-hmm.
You're rolling.
I
You want
love
me to
it.
stop
I
it?
love it. No, we're ready to go. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so grateful that you're here. I am Maureen Scanlon. I'm a life coach and an author, and I wrote a book called My Dog is More Enlightened Than I Am. And you know, just by that title, it's true. And anyone who's now I'm learning it's more of a pet lover than even just the dogs, because everyone today seemed to have cats that came up to me. So we'll just do reptiles, snakes, rats, whatever you want, but they're all pretty enlightened. So how many of you have pets here? I know you do. You have pets, wonderful. What kind of dog do you have, or pet?
I have a pit bull and a cataboula, and then 2 cats.
And two cats. See, there we go. And do you have any pets?
I'm in between pets right now.
I love that in between. So
I don't
she's
have one right now, but I'm gonna get one soon.
You're waiting for the right one to pick you out.
Yes. And they do, don't they? They just come, for some reason, something will come across your path and, well, that's the one. You just know it. It's like picking a mate or a house, I think. You know, dogs just find us, right? So the idea of my book, obviously, was that I just observed my animals, and I looked at my dogs one day when I was completely stressed out. I worked from home, and I was just kind of overwhelmed, and I just stopped for a moment, and they got my attention, and I went, whoa, why am I so stressed out, right? Why can't I just be like you? My little Chihuahua, she's felt 15 pounds, I know. She's more like a potbelly pig. I can't help it. She needs treats every 5 minutes. But, you know, she'll just randomly be standing there looking at me, and all of a sudden just, whoop, she's got to get that tail. You know, she didn't wake up this morning and say, how am I going to pay the mortgage? You know, she didn't say, I got to go talk to the neighbor about that dog who keeps annoying me every single day, and we've got to work this out. You know, hi guys, welcome.
We were next door and almost got walked in.
Oh, well, that's one way to get people to come to my lecture. Honey, you want to lock the
I'm
door?
supposed to lock you in there.
So, do you ladies have any pets?
Oh, yes.
Yes, dogs, cats?
2 dogs.
Two
She has
dogs.
1 cat. 6 cats.
6 cats. Whoa, we went from 1 to 6. She gained 5 in 5 minutes. So I was just saying today at my booth, everyone was coming up, and they would look at the book, and I'd say, "Oh, do you have dogs?" And everyone had cats. So it's kind of a cat day. Cats are just as enlightened as dogs. Cats are way more deliberate in letting you know how they feel, right? And what they do and do not want. So the premise of my book, I wrote a book called My Dog is More Enlightened Than I Am. And it was just watching and observing them and thinking, wow, I just started getting these examples of, wow, when I'm stressed out, why can't I just do that? Or how they take care of one another. Or if you've ever been to a dog park, you've seen how that's a social experiment, and they know who they like to be around. Some of them they just come right up to. My Chihuahua has an infinity for huskies. I don't know, it's her type. That's all I can say. Oh, who knew? You know, how that would ever work out, that's, you know, remains to be seen. But it's really amazing. And then my Australian Shepherd, he's there for the people. You know, he has to go up to every single person in that dog park and, you know, scoot up to him to get his butt rubbed. You know, he just wants to say hi to everyone. Super trusting, super loving, just wants to go out there and have a good time. Why don't we carry that out into the world? Why don't we act like that? Why don't we walk into a store and say, hi, how are you? How's everything going? Because people will call 911 and say that, we're psychopaths, right? Because we've gotten to that point as a society, we're afraid of one another. And then you add the social media in there, we've disconnected from one another, right? It breaks my heart, this generation, especially the newest generation, where everything is instant gratification and there's no work involved in nurturing relationships. To me, that nurturing of relationships, just like with a dog that you get from a rescue, they've got to earn that, you have to earn that trust, right? They don't instantaneously know what's going on. They've been shuffled from place to place, and so they've got to earn that trust. So it's not instantaneous. Yet we as humans want that instantaneous gratification. You just need to accept me and love me and trust me, and it doesn't work that way. And so our whole lives are based on relationships. Nothing else matters. Nothing materialistic, homes, jobs, none of it. You're going to leave this earth with a legacy. What's your legacy going to be? Did I nurture every relationship in my life? Did I call up my mother and just say, hi, Mom, how's everything going? Let me come over and have dinner with you. Did we put our phones down when we had meetings with one another? Did we take that time to go visit someone in a hospital? Are we really taking that time to nurture all those important things in our lives? And that's the beauty of dogs, is they just nurture it. When you're not feeling well, they're right by your side, aren't they? When you're excited, they're excited. And when you come home from a vacation and you've been gone for a while, they're not mad at you for being gone. They're like, oh, hey, thanks for coming back. I'm really excited to see you. They don't get angry or hold on to any regrets, or they don't want to have revenge. Now, I did hear today that there was a cat who gave the cold shoulder to someone when they came home. So, that's the difference between the cats and the dogs. So, the other thing I want to talk about is fostering relationships. Did you know that we have an opportunity every single day to meet 5 new people? Think about that. 5 new people. How much effort are we putting into talking to one another? Just strangers, just random strangers. I love people's stories. That's what helps me learn. That's what helps me with my clients in my coaching, is I hear stories, I hear experiences. And I was watching a TEDx talk the other day, and I really love this. And they said, it's by Dr. Andrea and Jonathan Taylor Cummings. And one of the things they said were 4 habits of successful relationships. The most critical one that I loved was, they said, be curious, not critical. How often do we do that? Do we go out in the world and instantaneously make a judgment about someone that comes in our path, right? From their clothing to their face, their hair, their behavior, just instantaneously, let's just judge one another without understanding why are they like that? What's going on? What's behind that created this, the programming, the experiences that they experienced in life? We don't know their story unless we ask. I recently took a trip with my daughter. She lives in Austin. She's 27 years old. We take a yearly mother-daughter trip because I want to make sure I'm bonding with her, and she's getting older, and she's, got her job and her boyfriend. But we take this yearly trip together, and it means so much to us because we have very high energy. And when we do these trips, we tend to draw in a lot of people that are just like us and like to tell us their stories. And by fostering these relationships, you get what you give, right? When you put yourself out there to people and you show that vulnerability to others, you get such great rewards. So we had gone on this wine and food pairing thing at a plantation. It was called Belmead Plantation. And we walked in and we had tickets and gave it to the lady, and she said, oh, you're gonna meet over here at the mansion. And so we did this mansion tour and all this, and by the time we got done, they said, oh, there's free wine over here. And my daughter said, wait, we had tickets, Mom, for the food and pairing, and I want my wine, so let's go figure out how to get this remedied, right? So we go up to the office. I never get upset when things don't go my way. You know why? There's a reason for that, because something else was meant to happen. So we go to the office and I said, hey, we came in earlier and here's our tickets, and it was a different young lady, meant to be, synchronicity. And I said, we did the mansion tour, which I love and my daughter doesn't. I love the historical stuff in museums, and my daughter's like, let's do a rooftop party and a booze cruise, and you know, so we always meet in the middle, but I love the historical stuff. So I was thrilled to get the mansion tour. I was like, yay, good, great mistake, right? I tell the lady, she says, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, we have another one at 2 o'clock for your food and wine pairing. And she said, follow me. We follow her. They have a little ice cream fudge shop. She said, you guys pick anything you want. It's on the house. Here's where your food and wine pairing is. Her name was Sepia, and I was intrigued by that. And I always inquire. So I am always inquisitive as to, who are you? What are you about? How did this happen? And so I said, oh, Sepia, that's such a beautiful name. Where did that come from? It's an unusual name. You think it's a family name. She says to me, I had 3 businesses when I was 21 years old. And she said that was one of the businesses. It was a facial makeup line, and it was called Sepia. And I thought, oh, that is just amazing. I said, well, what do you do now? And she says, I'm an empowerment coach. Well, what? How would she come into my path? And I said, I'm a life coach. And she said, oh, we have to talk. She takes us to the fudge place, and she said, let's sit down and talk. We sat and talked for 30 to 45 minutes, just this connection. I knew her, she knew me. If you know who Ayanla Van Zant is, she was good friends with her, had met her. So by me asking one question, what's your name? Did you get your name? That's a beautiful name. I opened up this beautiful connection with someone, and look what I got to take away. You know, I love that. And if we do that every day, we have that opportunity 5 times a day to make some sort of a new connection, whether it's networking for your business or family connections or whatever it is. It's so important, but we're all so guarded these days. So I encourage you to do that. Just ask questions, share your stories with one another, because we need to raise this planet. We need to make everyone a little more open to one another nowadays, and not so afraid of each other. Jeder hat sein Päckchen zu tragen.
Say that.
I did it, right? I did it. So this is my best friend. She grew up in Germany. And she says this to me the other day. And I said, well, what does that mean? And she said, in German, that means everyone has a package to carry. And I love that. Don't we? Everyone has something going on in their life. Everyone has strife, financial, family, conflict, relationships, anything. And I thought, that's such a neat way to look at it. We all have something going on that nobody knows about. It's hidden. So one of the things that I always like to talk about are the ways we can overcome our past painful experiences. Would it be okay to share my personal story with you? I got married very young. I got married at 18 years old. I got pregnant pretty much around the same time, if not before, just saying.
No judgment.
I know, right? It happens. And I married someone who I didn't know at the time had a lot of mental issues and addictions. And he ended up joining the military, and we got sent to Germany. So I'm away from friends and family, and it's just him and I, and we're this young family. And I've got a 3-month-old by the time that I go over there. And as time went on, what I realized was he had a serious alcohol addiction. When I wasn't over there, he was hanging out with guys and just drinking. I come over, he's a new husband, he's a new father, he has no idea how to cope with this. We're young, we're 19 years old. I thought it was okay. I thought, you know what, I'm supposed to help this person, I'm supposed to stick it out. I was raised in my family, you deal with it no matter what. You stay married no matter what. Everyone in my family, no one has ever been divorced. As the years progressed, it got worse, and then it turned violent. And there was a moment in our marriage after he got out of the military. We were in a little tiny little townhouse. My girls, I had 3 children. My girls were 2 and 4 years old. And I remember it so vividly. It's one of those profound moments in your life where you just never forget what you were thinking, what you were feeling. He was attempting to strangle me. I was on the ground and he had his full weight on me. And I remember the movies, oh, your life flashes before your eyes. Oh, it does. I remember the darkness just coming in, and just having that thought that I better do something quick because my children are gonna end up with a father in jail and a dead mother. And I got this superhuman strength, and I would manage to get him off. That first breath caught it burned my lungs, so I know how close I was, to that death. And yet, that wasn't enough for me to leave yet. So I stayed in it even longer and ended up having my son until he was unfaithful. And it's real funny that we think we know a moment of when you can look at someone and say, you didn't get out of it? What's wrong with you? Why didn't you get out of it? Are you crazy? And yet, my turning point was, well, you were unfaithful. Not that you almost killed me, but that you were unfaithful. And we all have different levels of what's okay and what's not okay, right? So overcoming those past obstacles is always a challenge. Obviously, it causes this recurring, there's either trauma, there's things that were said, your self-esteem, your programming, whatever it was that you went through in that traumatic moment stays with you. Well, how do we get rid of that, right? One of the best ways I've created is a method called TRA, T-R-A. So the T stands for trigger, the R stands for reaction, and the A stands for alternative. So what we do is when you feel those triggers of something that reminds you of a past traumatic experience, you know what your normal reaction would be. So a lot of people have the fight or flight mentality. I would have been flight because I had fear from my past. So if I feel there's a trigger coming on and I know how I'm going to react, what I needed to do was create an alternative. So if I feel this is coming on, this is what I would normally do. Instead of flight, then I'm going to do something as an alternative. When I married my wonderful husband, finally found my twin flame there, when we first started dating and got married, when any argument would come up, which we don't even argue, we don't even raise voices, but any type of conflict for me was like, I can't do it. I just wanted to crawl into the ground and do this flight thing. My memories and my subconscious said, if you start arguing, you're gonna get hurt. So that was instantaneous. Whether he did it or not, it had nothing to do with him. It was about me, and I would say, it's not you, it's me. The old, it's not you, it's all in me. And he literally would say, let's work it out, let's talk about it. And it was torture, but it was finding that alternative to forcing myself to face something that I never would have faced otherwise, and just walking through it and talking it out. And now I don't fear conflict. I don't fear, anything, voices raised. Now I go right back at him. I'm like, no. I'm going to stand up for myself. So that's one of the methods that I use. We have 3 parts of our brain, and they all serve different purposes. So we have the cerebellum, which is your subconscious. So those are all the things that we are programmed. We saw it when we were children. We heard it when we were children. Growing up or watching movies, whatever it is, we absorbed something that stayed with us. It's in our subconscious. Our subconscious is just a memory bank. It is not logical or emotional. So you have the neocortex, which is your thinker brain, and it's the logical side. It gathers information, it sorts it out. We get 120,000 pieces of information every single day. 120,000. And our brain is so amazing. It does this thing where it either deletes things that you don't need, it sorts things out that you already know, and then it banks things that you want to learn. Isn't that cool? That's so cool to think 120 pieces of information, that's mind-blowing, but yet that's how intricate our mind is and the ability that we have to control everything that we're doing and the choices that we have. So in that way, our perspectives are geared toward the reason that we have the subconscious, the thinker, and the emotional, because that's where you're pulling everything from, right? That's where we get our perspective. Her perspective is going to be completely different from mine because she had a different experience from the time she entered the physical world to now. So I can come to her and say, you're wrong, everything you're saying is wrong, that's not true. But it is true, it's her truth, right? And I'm telling her it's not true because it's my perspective based on the experiences that I had, right? So we gotta go out in the world and understand when we disagree, it's only because we're coming from those different perspectives. And we have to respect that. We have to say, I appreciate what you're saying. I appreciate that that's your truth and that's what you've experienced. And thank you for sharing that with me. Now here's my perspective. Instead of arguing that you're wrong and I'm right and this is my view and you shouldn't think that way, right? And we see that all the time. Politics, social media, right? So I do this really interesting method in my coaching called bulk up and trim down. So you know when you go to the gym, you start lifting weights, you're trying to bulk up, you're drinking protein powders and you're just bulking it up. Or you're there to get on the elliptical or the treadmill and you're trying to lose weight, so you're trimming down. So whenever something comes across your path, an experience that's difficult, I always tell my clients, let's bulk this up. Bulking it up is let's go to the worst case scenario. So my car broke down and I need to find the money to pay my car, fix my car. Okay, where are you gonna get the money? Okay, well you could take from your mortgage and be late on your mortgage, and then you're not gonna have the money for the mortgage, and then you're gonna have a late payment, or you're even gonna go so far as you're gonna go into foreclosure, and then you're gonna be homeless and you're living under a bridge. Well, now that I say that, fixing the car doesn't sound that bad, does it? So living under a bridge or fixing my car, and that's our bulk up. And then we can trim it down, which is we're just gonna generalize. So my car's not working, all right, do I know anyone that can fix it? So if I can't afford to go to a mechanic, let me ask around. Maybe there's someone that can fix it, and let me see if I can just go take a quick loan or borrow some money from someone so I can just buy the parts and have this person fix it. So it'll be fine, I'll be all right. And so that's our trimming down and our generalizing. So you can go either way with your problems. You can make them bigger or you can make them smaller. And it's whatever you choose to do to cause yourself to be more relaxed, less stressed, and figure out the solution that you need. Why? So one of the things about perspectives also is trying to understand why others speak and act the way that they do. And so our belief system is based on our thoughts, right? So if I believe something, it's because of what I think about myself. 3 thoughts becomes a belief. So as easy as you can have those negative thoughts about yourself, I'm no good at this, I'm never gonna get out of debt, I'm terrible with money, nothing ever works out for me. So now we've just programmed ourselves through a belief, I'm not very good, I'm negative. So we now have a false belief in our head. On the same token, you can say, which is reframing, I'm not very good with money, but I'm gonna take a class and learn how to budget. Or, I'm not very good with money, but I'm better than I was a year ago. So you can constantly reframe that to create a new belief in yourself. And it's 3 thoughts. Habits are formed the same way. You do something 3 times, you've now created a habit. You can undo the habit by doing something different 3 times. Sounds simple enough, I know. But that's how we do those alternatives, and we can undo everything that we've had programmed into us that we've been doing forever. So lastly, this is a really neat method that my clients really love, and it really is a change of perspective. So I don't know if anyone is familiar with Abraham Hicks. Yes, love Abraham Hicks. She said this in one of her videos, and I just loved it. And it was at a moment that I really needed it, which isn't it funny how that happens? You wake up, something's going on, and you just go to YouTube, and boom, that's the video you were supposed to hear, right? Synchronicities, you were brought that. So I had, at night when my husband and I go to sleep, I have a little balcony, and I go out there, and usually I have my glasses on because I've been reading my iPad. And so I go out there and just take a few minutes before we go to bed. And I woke up the next day and I couldn't find my glasses. And I thought, well, what the heck? They were brand new. I didn't have another pair. And I thought, oh, this is great. I can't read a thing without my glasses at all. Thank you, old age. So I remembered watching this video where Abraham had lost her iPad. And she said, she looked all over the place for it for 6 weeks. 6 weeks, yes. All over her house, everywhere, anywhere she thought it could possibly be. She forgets about it. And then one day, she was looking for it again, and she said, I said to myself, my desire to find it is greater than my belief that it is lost. And she went right to a drawer, opened it up, found her iPad, and said, oh yeah, I put that there when I was gonna travel, and it was too bulky, and I put it underneath there. So I had done the same thing. I was panicking. Where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? And I stopped, and I just did that. I said, okay, my desire to find these glasses are greater than my belief that they are lost. And instantaneously, I remembered when I had gone out on the balcony the night before, I had left them on the chair that I was sitting on. And I went out and got them, and there they were. So when you're relating that to things in your life, when you're in any kind of conflict, especially with one another, family or relationships, you can say, my desire to love my family is greater than my desire to be right in this argument, or my desire to realize my dreams and take a chance and invest in my business is greater than my fear of it failing. Rather than flipping it around and like, I'm scared I'm gonna fail, I don't know if I should even take a step. I've been trying to talk her into starting her business, and she hasn't yet, but we're working on it. So hopefully her desire to start her business is greater than her fear of investing the money and failing or people not being interested in it. So using that mindset is so life-changing, and I use that with my coaching clients constantly, and they literally can change instantaneously and get rid of all those false beliefs and fears that they have. So lastly, I believe, and I know that anyone who is spiritual and enlightened and just overall empathic and you love people, you wouldn't be here. You're a group of people that are like sweet, kind souls because you believe in humanity. You believe in raising one another up. That's why you're here. My motto, my mantra, my story, everything that I had gone through with what I had told you about my marriage, I turned it into forgiveness, which everyone says forgiveness is for us and not for anyone else. But going a step further, I now have gratitude. I have gratitude for all of the pain that I had ever been through. Those who caused me the most pain, I have gratitude for because they were my teacher. They were my greatest teacher. And they contracted to come here to be that person that wasn't very nice or was hurtful so that I could learn, I don't want to be that way, or I need to grow. I need to teach my daughters how to be in healthy relationships. So turning that around and giving that gratitude to our experiences that were painful, the people that were painful, My story is this. I'm just here to give a message, and I always say build it and they will come, and you're here. And I don't care if it's 7 people, oh, and a little one, 7.5 people, or 7,000, because you're here because you belonged here, you needed to hear this message. Have you ever heard the starfish story? It's my life, it's my story. It is a little boy was walking along the beach, and starfish had gone up with the high tide, and all these starfish were laying around the beach, just thousands of them. And the sun was coming out, and if they didn't get back to the ocean, they were gonna dry up and die. So this little boy is walking along the beach, throwing these starfish back into the ocean. And an old man walks up to him and says, what are you doing? And he said, I'm putting the starfish back into the ocean. And the old man said, well, there's thousands of them. You're not gonna make any difference. And the little boy bends down, picks one up, throws it in the ocean, looks at the old man, and says, it made a difference to that one. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me share, and I love and blessings to you all. Thank you.